Hello, American Diversity. This is Mr. Salinas. I wanted to go ahead and record this reading for anybody that is interested or prefers a voiceover in the reading. So, this is our introduction to culture reading. So, let's go ahead and get started. Culture is a term used by social scientists for a way of life. Every human society has a culture. Culture includes the society's arts, beliefs, customs, institutions, inventions, language, technology, religion, historical leaders, architecture, food, clothing, styles, manners, and values. A culture can encourage similar behavior and thought among most people in a particular society. To learn about a culture, one must ask such questions as these. How do they judge right from wrong? What kind of work do they do? How do they govern themselves? What do the people of society wear? How do they prepare their food? What kind of dwellings do they live in? What language do the people speak? People are not born with any knowledge of culture. In other words, it is not genetic. They generally learn a culture by growing up in a particular society. They learn mainly through talking and listening to other members of the society. They also learn by watching and imitating various behaviors in the society. The process by which people, especially children, learn their society's culture is called inculturation. Culture is sometimes used in a narrow sense to refer to activities in such fields as art, literature, and music. In that sense, a cultured person is someone who has knowledge of and an appreciation for the fine arts. But, under the broader definition used by social scientists, culture includes all areas of life and all human beings have a culture. Social scientists use the term pop culture or popular culture to mean elements of a society's entertainment, such as television, radio, music, advertising, sports, hobbies, fads, and fashions. The term civilization is similar to culture, but it refers mostly to culture that have complex economic, governmental, and social systems. A culture is any way of life, but it's simple or complex, advanced or not advanced. Characteristics of culture. There are several important characteristics of culture. The main ones are these. One, the goal of culture is to satisfy a human's basic needs. Two, a culture is acquired through learning. Three, culture is based on the use of symbols and symbolic artifacts. Four, a culture consists of individual traits as well as groups of traits called patterns. Satisfying basic needs. All cultures serve to meet the basic needs of human beings. For example, every culture has methods of obtaining food and shelter. Every culture has family relationships, economic and governmental systems, religious practices, and forms of artistic expression. Learning. Cultures acquired through learning, not through biological inheritance. That is, no person is born with a culture. Children take on the culture in which they are raised through enculturation. Children learn much of their culture through imitation and experience. They also acquire culture through observation, paying attention to what goes on around them and seeing examples of what their society considers right and wrong. Children also may absorb certain aspects of culture unconsciously. For example, many Hispanics and Arabs tend to stand closer together when speaking to one another than most Europeans and North Americans. No one instructs them to do so, but they learn behavior through experience with others in their society. The boundaries of cultures. Every human society has a culture. People who grow up in the same nation can be said to have a national culture, but they may be part of other societies within the nation. They have separate cultural traditions. Social scientists sometimes use the term subculture to describe variations within a culture. Social groups often develop some cultural patterns of their own that set them apart from the larger society they are a part of. For example, Amish people in Pennsylvania and several Midwestern states make up a subculture, as do members of a teenage street gang. Culture and society. Multiculturalism. Some societies, such as those of Tibetans in Tibet and various people of the Pacific Islands, have traditionally been associated with a single culture. From one person to the next, their actions and beliefs vary very little. Other societies, as those of the United States and Canada, are multicultural societies. They include many distinct cultures working together within one national culture. A shared culture background makes people feel more comfortable with other people from their own culture. Many people initially feel confused and uneasy when they deal with people of another culture. This discomfort that people often feel when they have contact with an unfamiliar culture is called culture shock. Culture shock usually passes if a person stays in a new culture long enough to understand it and get used to its ways. People of one culture who move to a country where another culture dominates may give up their old ways and become part of the dominant culture. This process by which they do this is called assimilation. Through assimilation, a minority group eventually disappears because its members lose their cultural characteristics that set them apart. In a multicultural society, however, assimilation does not always occur. Some distinct cultural attributes that are different than the national culture are allowed to continue due to the acceptance of difference. Multiculturalism succeeds best in a society that has many different ethnic groups and a political system that promotes freedom of expression and awareness and understanding of cultural differences. Ethnic groups can bring a variety of richness to a society by introducing their own ideas and customs. Ethnocentrism. Many people from a variety of cultures think that their own culture is right, proper, and more moral than others. They tend to use their own cultural standards and values to judge the behavior and beliefs of people from different cultures. They regard the behavior and beliefs of people from other cultures as strange, lesser than theirs, or potentially savage. The attitude that one's culture is the best or better than others is called ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is harmful if carried to extremes. It may cause prejudice, automatic rejection of ideas from other cultures, and even persecution of other groups. How cultures change. Every culture changes, but all parts of culture do not change at the same time. For example, science and technology may sometimes change so rapidly that they lessen the importance of customs, ideas, and other non material parts of a culture. At other times, changes in ideas and social systems may occur before changes in technology. The failure of certain part of a culture to keep up with the related parts is referred to cultural lag. Contact with other cultures. Most societies are not isolated from one another. They come into some contact with other societies. When contact occurs, societies borrow cultural traits from one another. As a result, cultural traits and patterns tend to spread from the society in which they originated. The spreading process is called diffusion. Corn growing, for example, began in what is now Mexico thousands of years ago and eventually spread throughout the world. Invention. Invention is a creation, Invention is a creation of a new device, process, or product. Inventions provide a new solution to an old or new problem. Without inventions, human beings would be at the mercy of the climate and land. Inventions have given people much control over their environmental and enabled them to live easier lives. Inventions have led to many changes in a culture. The invention of the electronic computer in the mid 1900s had an enormous impact. It has brought far reaching changes in communication, education, entertainment, and numerous other areas of modern life.